From WKRG Plus, your local election headquarters, this is Politics with Pete.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in as we continue our discussion of Mobile's mayor's race. Spiro Cheriogotis is with us today. And Spiro, I just asked you, and I'll let you do it for everyone else too, how to pronounce your name, right?
You got to know. So it's Greek. It's a Greek name. If you think of a Greek goddess and you sit her in a chair, you chair a goddess.
Cheriogotis. There we go. All your signs say Spiro. That's a little bit easier.
Hard to fit all that on the sign.
All right, Spiro, you were a judge here in Mobile County. You decided to leave the bench and run for mayor. Why did you make that decision?
You know, I love being a judge. It was a wonderful job, a true blessing in my life. One thing, though, judges are limited to reacting. You're always reacting to something that's already happened. The idea of being a mayor who could be proactive and hopefully prevent some people from ever making it to the courtroom is definitely something that drove me.
Sandy Stimpson is not running after 3 terms. Has been a very popular mayor, I think, for a lot of people, and he's endorsed you. What does that endorsement mean to your campaign?
It means the world to me. You know, truly, I think it's impossible to see Mobile today versus when Sandy started and not see improvement. You know, I think you have to ask yourself, is Mobile heading in the right direction or the wrong direction? I think it's heading in the right direction, and a lot of that is a credit to Sandy Stimpson. I'm honored to have his support, and I hope to see some of these projects, these real transformational projects that he's begun, see them through to the finish line.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of those in just a second. And also getting the Stimpson endorsement, you've been able to raise a lot of money, more than all the other candidates really combined. How have you been able to do that? How are you going to spend that money, and how important is it to winning the race?
I think it's important. I hope that it's a signal that people are buying into our message, our ideas. You know, we're all about looking forward to what's next for Mobile. And I can tell you it's a lot of hard work, a lot of time on the phone, a lot of personal meetings. I would say most of that came prior to the endorsement as well. We've been working hard. We've been reaching out to the citizens here in Mobile that care about what is happening in Mobile, and I'm thankful that so many have chosen to invest their treasure in me.
You know, some of the other candidates are trying to portray you, I think, as kind of the establishment candidate. Paul Prine is, in some of his literature, talks about working for people no matter who they are or who they know. It's not about political connections. Barbara Drummond says we need leadership that's willing to fight for every neighborhood, not a select few. How do you fight back against the concept that, you know, you're handpicked by Stimpson and this is the Spring Hill crowd that's trying to, you know, elect you, not the entire city?
You know, if you look at our donations, for one, they've come from all over the city. They've not come from one particular place. I'm here to fight for every Mobilian. I'm here to fight for every person who chooses to call Mobile home or had the blessing of being born here. When you look at Mobile, we have an incredible future ahead of us. So long as we stay the course, so long as we complete these amazing projects while remaining on a budget. You know, a city can't run on a deficit. So I'm here to fight for everybody. And it has no relation to their zip code or any kind of club.
You know, there have been a number of events that have already been held. You've been out talking to people around the community. It seems like crime is foremost in people's mind. And you, as a former judge, how do you have maybe a unique vantage point on what's going on in our city and how to do something about it?
Yeah, you know, policing is only one perspective of crime. I've served as a prosecutor and certainly worked hand in hand with our law enforcement. I saw what they deal with on a daily basis. It gave me a unique perspective. I've served as a private attorney and then judge. And to me, judge is a truly unique perspective. You're hearing not just from the prosecution, not just from the defense side, but you're hearing from the families. You're hearing from the families on both sides that are affected by the violence in our streets. I can tell you, it's given me an opportunity to see what works and see what does not work. Ways that we can reorganize our efforts. You know, maybe we do need to add police officers on the streets. That's certainly something I'll look at. But I can tell you we can be more effective right now by reorganizing our efforts.
Is the crime problem in Mobile as bad as a lot of people think? A lot of these statistics really don't back that up, looking historically back over the past couple of decades. Some say, look at Jackson, Mississippi, or Baton Rouge or Montgomery, the situation is far worse there than it is here. How do you respond to that?
I think it does have a lot to do with perception, but any, one single shooting where a 5-year-old is winged by a stray bullet is too many. I do think if you look at overall crime numbers, they've declined fairly sharply in the last 10 years, 2014 to 2024. We've gone from 13,400 Part 1 crimes down to 5,700 last year. But people don't feel it because, maybe the news a little bit, but it's your job to report these incidents. And frankly, it's newsworthy when people are being shot at a grocery store, where shootings are occurring at parks in the middle of the daytime. These are things that keep people worried. And to me, when people say Mobile has a crime problem, that's exactly what they're referring to. They're not referring to burglaries or car break-ins. We're doing pretty good on those, not good enough. We can keep improving. But these shootings keep people feeling unsafe, and that's something we have to attack headlong. I know that I can do it. I know that I can be the man to do that.
Yeah, you weren't a juvenile judge, but I'm sure a lot of the people that came before you were 18, 19 years old, some juveniles being tried as adults. Can a mayor or a city council or a police chief do anything about, a bunch of 16-year-old idiots, some would say, out shooting at each other out in a crowd somewhere?
In my experience, young men don't make very good decisions. And what breaks my heart, what certainly broke my heart as a judge, was to see so many young people making life-altering, life-ending decisions. Not just the life that was taken, but their own. Absolutely, a mayor, a city council, you need to partner with your community. The community has to be involved as well, local churches, local organizations. But I want to intervene as early as we possibly can in the lives of these young men, provide them good things, good ways to spend their time, certainly provide them mentorship and leadership, which many are lacking. It takes leadership to tell your friends, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. And so we need to teach those lessons.
Do we need more officers, and do we need to deploy them differently?
I do definitely think that we need to deploy them differently. I think there are things that we do, especially in narcotics investigations, that have limited effect on the overall crime scene in our city, in our county. I would surely like to reorganize their efforts to focus right in on gang violence. We do have gangs in our city. I know we didn't always talk about it, but they're there. And a lot, I would say most of the shootings that we see are related to that gang violence.
Let's talk about another subject, could be related to it when we talk about affordable housing and the blight in a lot of our neighborhoods. Recently, there have been projects announced for bringing new housing to the area. Are we doing enough? What do we need to be doing? And what do we do about these blighted properties that tear down neighborhoods with absentee owners, for example?
Yeah, I think it's easier to deal with the blight issue within historic districts, downtown. We have things on the book now that require a certain facade. We can begin enforcing those. When you look at property, blighted property, people have property rights. They have the right to use their property as they see fit, so long as it's within the law. When it begins to create a safety issue for neighboring property owners, I think that is when the government should step in. When you look at, I presided over the trial, over the case where the fire happened downtown, right next to Hoffman Furniture. I think it's a true testament to our our fire department, that didn't burn down the entire block. So when you have empty buildings that are attracting bad elements, nuisance to neighboring business owners who have invested millions sometimes in their building, that's a place where we can step in. And I think requiring some fire protection is a great way to do that. Something I'm certainly committed to seeing happen downtown. Looking around the town, I will always be looking for ways to uplift all of our communities.
Let's talk about some of the things going on downtown. The Civic Center, new Civic Center, is under construction. What are your thoughts about that project and the design of that arena?
Yeah, did you see their most recent renderings? I think they look fantastic. For the first time in decades, Mobile will be able to attract top-level talent. We've had top-level acts skipping over Mobile for decades now. And, we used to have the Rolling Stones. We used to have Elvis. I want to see those days return. And I think with this new arena, it is truly state of the art. I think we're going to have that opportunity.
How excited are you about the new downtown airport?
I'm very excited. I think for business, especially attracting businesses and regional headquarters and hopefully some national headquarters, that ability to be on the tarmac and in the conference room within 10, 15 minutes, you really can't replace that. I think it may be the most transformational project we have.
Do we need more events in downtown? A lot of people think back to the time when we had Bayfest, for example, festivals like that. Would you be in favor of bringing something like that back or similar projects?
I'm in favor of celebrating in Mobile. I think we do it well. And any opportunity to celebrate more the beauty of our city, the uniqueness of our city, I'm all for it.
Mobile knows how to throw a party. There's no doubt about that. All right, speaking of downtown, again, we've got the new Amtrak platform that's being built right now. What are your thoughts about Amtrak? It seems like a lot in the council, maybe Mayor Stimpson himself, are a little lukewarm on this idea, but here we go.
I had somebody ask if it was going to generate a lot of revenue for the city. I don't know. I think it's fun. I love the idea of being able to, go from your home, hopefully using improved public transportation, get to that platform, take a trip over to coastal Mississippi, down to New Orleans without ever having to ride in your car. I think that's neat. Mm-hmm. I hope that it'll be a way for more tourists to make their way to our door. So I'm in favor of it. It's happening, so I'm certainly going to be in favor of it.
How about the cruise industry? Where do you think the city stands right now with that?
I love where we stand. We've just gotten commitments to having year-round cruises. The river cruise that was announced a while back, they have a few planned. I think we're going to continue to go after other cruise lines. Again, those are wonderful. I want to make sure that we're grabbing those visitors while they're here, giving them a night downtown to enjoy our scenery and really capitalize on those people coming through our town. But the more the merrier for me.
What do you think makes Mobile so unique or special to tourists?
Home of Mardi Gras. Mobile is the true home of Mardi Gras. Nobody does it better than us. I think we have a family-friendly nature to our city that some other cities that celebrate lack. And so, I think it's accessible. It's more accessible to people. It is so fun, but Mobile is so diverse as a culture, in its people, in its past. The city of Five Flags. We have the most diverse ecosystem in the entire America, in all of America, with the Delta. It's just a beautiful place, and we need to make sure we're properly highlighting the beauty of Mobile.
And we were talking about transportation a second ago. How about the WAVE transit system, our bus system that we have here in Mobile? What kind of changes do you think are necessary there?
I think there certainly are changes necessary. We spend a lot of money and we get some money back, but to me a public transportation system will never be truly successful if it's not an option for everybody. And when you look at these large buses, dark windows, you don't know who's in there. Frankly, there aren't that many people in there at any one time. I really would like to see us harken back to an earlier day. I really like these trolleys. I love a trolley. You see through it, you lower the windows, you can jump on the back. Something that's smaller, more nimble, that will fit the character of our city better, and hopefully it'll be fun to use.
All right. We're talking with Spiro Cheriogotis, candidate for mayor. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more. Back with Spiro Cheriogotis, candidate for mayor in Mobile, one of four, talking about big issues facing the city and the upcoming election on August 26th. All right, Spiro. Infrastructure is a big talking point for a lot of people. We have a lot of roads, we have a lot of sewer system issues in the city. How do we prioritize that right now?
You have to. When you look at the stormwater management alone, you're talking about $1.5 billion to really fix our drainage issues. You can't do that at one time. You have to have a long-term plan that you stick to. We're the 18th oldest city in the country. We still have wood drainage pipes in some locations. We have to attack this issue. It's personal to me. My house did flood when we had that kind of record-setting rain a few months back. When the street fills up, the yards can't drain and houses get flooded. We have to really attack this issue. We have to look really maintaining our ditches, maintaining our stormwater runoff. And as far as roads, you don't have to drive far in Mobile to see that we need help with our roads. I really do like the Complete Streets program, where you're not just addressing a road, but you're addressing utilities underneath the ground. You're smoothing out the road, you're smoothing out the sidewalks, especially in our older areas of town. We have to continue that process. And I've heard people say it's piecemeal, but for the price tag, it has to be.
Yeah.
We have to be fiscally responsible as a city.
You brought up the older parts of town. We have the penny tax, the CIP program, where a lot of that money gets divided up equally into 7 parts. And there's an argument out there that your older parts of town is where most of your problems are. Are you in favor of reworking that system and dedicating more of that money to where it might be needed?
Well, I think it's a misnomer to think that's the only money that goes into the city. That money is distributed directly by our councilmen and councilwomen. I like the idea that they get to focus on the projects that their constituents find to be the most important in their areas. Now, if you're asking me, am I willing to devote more of the budget towards some of the older areas of town? I think we have to. When you look at our failing infrastructure, it's generally in the older parts of town. So we have to be realistic that it costs 5 times more money to repair a road in an older part of town than it does in a newer part.
How do you think you will work well with the council? I mean, that's a big part of this job that doesn't get talked about a lot. It's really a weak mayor. I mean, you set the vision, you set the budget, but the city council, that's who makes the decisions in town. How do you think you can work with those 7?
Well, I like all of our councilmen. I'm always looking to build relationships. I generally like people. You know, I like to help people, and I like to help projects along. And I think as long as you maintain that positive aspect, always looking towards a brighter future and looking to help people, it's easy to work with councilmen and citizens alike.
Let's talk a little bit about the school system, which gets blamed a lot for our exodus of people to Baldwin County. What do you think of the shape of our public schools? What role does the city have, both financially and otherwise, in promoting the schools?
I think when you look at reasons why people are choosing not to move to Mobile or not to live in Mobile, crime, schools, and housing availability. So I think looking at the schools and making sure you're doing everything you can to support them as a mayor you have to. It's a problem affecting the people of the city. We have to address it. I look to ways to assist. I think we've got a lot of great people in the school system that are doing their best. But I look at issues like preschool. We have a lot of kids showing up to public school without a lick of preschool, no training whatsoever, and we need to address that. And I think the city can definitely be a partner there, both in getting private institutions up to a level where they can receive state funds, and also being willing to help ourselves set some of those up. I also would love to coordinate with the schools to make sure we're doing everything we can to increase dual enrollment. We have so many jobs that are coming into our area, making sure those jobs are connected with Mobilians so that we are training the next group up for these new jobs. I think it's absolutely essential for our future. And I look to Bishop State and other community partners that can really help drive that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on right now. There's some academies with the various high schools focusing on various industries. What do? We've got Airbus here. They're expanding. We've got the Brookley complex, a lot of new area where RV Taylor across the interstate used to be. What is your vision for our expanding aerospace industry here in Mobile?
I think the future of Mobile is directly tied to Airbus, as well as Austal and other industries. But when you look at Airbus, especially what they've done in Toulouse, France, you can't go there without seeing Airbus. I hope to see Mobile like that soon. You know, I hope to see their marker on a lot of areas of our community. I think they're destined to expand. I think those areas you mentioned are clear opportunities for that expansion. But you know, there were a lot of people displaced in those areas, so we got to make sure we're adding homes back to those areas so people are not displaced from their community.
How do you think we're doing in terms of workforce development to support Airbus and Austal, which are kind of the big two in the city of Mobile?
I think I toured Bishop State the other day. I think they're doing a fantastic job in listening to our economic partners like Austal and Airbus and asking, what do you need? You know, what's coming up with the submarine module coming up? They're coming up with a curriculum for that specifically. I think we're doing a good job. The more partnership we can have with the industry we're trying to serve and trying to feed, the better.
What differentiates you from the other three candidates in the race? How is your vision and your abilities make you the person that folks should vote for?
Yeah, you know, I think my experience is unique. Serving as a prosecutor and judge, I also have a small business background. The city in some ways is a business, so I do bring that to the city. That unique perspective helps me to see crime. You know, I have 4 young children. That helps me to see our public schools from within. We have a lot of issues that we're faced with in our community, and I've had an up close and personal view with many of them. So I do also think, some call me young. I've heard that. I've got a lot of gray in my beard, but the ability to see some of these long-term plans through, I do think that differentiates me from my opposition.
How old are you?
42.
Okay.
42.
Well, you are the youngest of the 4. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, for example.
Yeah, I grew up in Dothan, Alabama. I'm blessed to live in Mobile now, but Dothan was a wonderful place to grow up. Public school my whole life, through Northview High School. That's where I graduated. During that time, I really grew up in my family's small business. We had a vending and catering business, which means I had warehouses full of chips and candy. I had to pay for them, but you know, it was a dangerous thing growing up. But what it really gave me was an opportunity to see the inside of our factories. Every factory within 50 miles of Dothan had our machines in them. We had lunch lines in all these places. So at the age of 6, I was touring GE and Sony and seeing things get made. And so building things, making things has always fascinated me. And I hope that I can bring some of that experience into the job. Growing up in a small business teaches you a lot. It teaches you the difficulty of making payroll and getting your taxes paid. And I've seen the ups and downs that come with business ownership. And so it makes me appreciate the things our businesses go through, not just large, but small as well. So I'm interested to bring that experience to the table. I am now, my father and grandfather who had that business have passed. And so I've inherited a lot of their responsibilities. And I've seen it firsthand, how difficult it is to turn a profit, to make sure your balance sheet works out. And as a city, you can't afford to lose money.
You know, you hear a lot of people complaining about all the red tape that makes it hard for small businesses to do things, from the smallest projects on up. And it's, without getting too much in the weeds, do you think those criticisms are fair, or has the city done a good job in trying to make things easier for small businesses?
I have no doubt that the city has tried to make things better for small businesses. We still have some improvement to make. We've got a lot of building that needs to occur in Mobile over the next decade. When you look at our industry, they're going to expand. When you look at our housing shortage, I believe we have a housing shortage. We have a lot of homes to build. We need to look at permitting and see if we can make that more efficient. We need to see those ways where we can increase efficiency and cut red tape, and that's something I'm committed to.
And you mentioned being from a small business family. Your wife's family, I don't know if it qualifies as a small business, might be a big business. Talk about Lucy. She's well known in the community and the role that she's playing in the campaign.
There's no way I could do it without her. I'll tell you that. We have 4 beautiful children, and as a campaigner, you have to be away sometimes. And Lucy certainly fills that gap at home. She is the rock of our house. I might be a little trimmer if I wasn't married to her. She is a great cook, but no, I couldn't do it without her. She is a wonderful woman. I am lucky to be with her. She's even busier than I am, to tell you the truth. Greer's has been in business for 108 years, and she, in many ways, has the reins at this point. So she's not just a wonderful mother, she's a wonderful steward of that company.
What's your favorite place to go in Mobile?
That's hard to choose. I love to walk the streets downtown. I've worked downtown most of my career. We've got these beautiful historic buildings, beautiful parks. I love just taking a stroll downtown. Sometimes stumble into Greer's for a bite to eat. Happy to have that down there, but I don't know that there's a place in Mobile I don't enjoy going to.
Yeah, you mentioned downtown. There are a lot of things that go on there that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of people are moving downtown. Would you be in favor of supporting more residential downtown?
Absolutely. To me, downtown never really achieves its full potential without more people living there. I'm excited. There's some units going up right next to the grocery store down there. I see a lot of opportunity for growth. I've heard the stat that we once had 30,000 people living in that downtown footprint. Just imagine how many businesses that could support, retail establishments. I think it would be wonderful. Wonderful.
Do you have a favorite Mobilian from history, maybe, or someone who inspires you from Mobile, from our past?
Well, I'll bring it, back home to Lucy's great-great-grandfather, Autry Greer, who in 1908, established the grocery stores from scratch. Just a man with a dream, and started right down there on Water Street. And to look at how difficult it was to build a business back at that time. You're talking about very shortly before the Great Depression. To survive the Great Depression, World War twice, it's truly impressive to see what has been built from one man's effort. But we've had a lot of great Mobilians in our past. I just went to the Walk of Fame yesterday as that was unveiled. I think Mobile has the highest per capita Hall of Famers of any city. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
All right, we've only got a minute to go. You get elected, let's say. What do you do to hit the ground running? What's going to happen in the first couple of weeks under your leadership?
Well, I'll tell you, it'll start before I take office. As soon as I'm elected, I want to be in there in the trenches, seeing who's getting what done, seeing who's great, and maybe who needs some improvement, seeing where we can increase efficiency. So I'll start before I'm even elected, and certainly be listening to the people. The people on the ground, the supervisors, Mayor Stimpson. They're out there getting the job done right now. I want to hear more from them, and I want to see it in action. But in those first 100 days, we have some issues to tackle. Public transportation is one. We've seen that public transportation has had some hiccups. It has some issues.
I got to wrap you up, Spiro. Sorry, we're getting the countdown.
I talk too much.
Good luck. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks for being with us, everyone, and we'll see you again next time.